Good afternoon, everybody. This is my third video in a row, and I'll probably release these over a few weeks. I don't really have there's not a lot of time, and I'm going to try to change that so I can actually have more of an even flow of videos. But life sometimes doesn't allow us to, so we just make the best of it. I'm going to try doing something that is not the easiest thing to do. And it's something that I kind of not sure what this is going to look like. And I'm talking about chaos because when I see chaos, I'm not talking about like a demonic being or whatever, because they have an actual consciousness that's an individualized consciousness. I'm talking about a million voices simultaneously is like chaos. It is hunger. It is like when you come across chaos, extremely hard to find. When you do find it, it's hungry. When you finally get to it, you can see it right away. But to try to get to the source of it, it's a hunger. It's a craving. And it's like, it's undescribable, but you'll never forget it when you actually experience it. It's a hunger for something. You can't love it because love will have absolutely no effect on it, and it will not have any effect. It's a very interesting energy, and you can't just send love into it because it will not have any effect on it. It might make it go away, but you're not going to transform it with love. So it's a combination of a lot of different things, and it's also the acceptance that it has no power. That has more effect than love, but it's not. Love is part of it. I can't say love isn't part of it, because love is part of it. But it's like a combination of acceptance, combination of love, but also the understanding that it has no ability or no power over you. That's extremely important, and that's how you defeat chaos. That's how you deflate chaos. That's how you make it go away. However, I want to know what that hunger really truly is. It's not just the absence of love, because if it was the absence of love, you could fill it full of love, and then that would be done and that would be over with. I want to try to go to the spirit of chaos, the spirits of chaos, because it is like ridiculous amount of voices. And it could simply be every voice in the universe all at the same time. What it is it's looking for. And I think this is where the problem is, because when I actually think about that, the first thing that comes to my head, if you have trillions of voices wanting something, how can you possibly feed that? Can you possibly feed that when it's all our wants in the world, in the universe, in a multiverse? How is it even possible to feed that, to stop it? The hunger is so intense that how could you possibly feed trillions of ideas and wantings? That's where the problem is, I believe. So I want to just go to this and see how this all pans out, and what it's going to look like. I always like to take a deep breath in and out. I've followed chaos back to many different sections, so I'm going to allow those doorways to open up. And it wants to rip me apart into every single one of the doorways, and I'm not going to allow that to happen. So I speak of these doorways, and there's like all of a sudden I'm surrounded by all these doorways that are trying to pull my energy, but they're trying to rip it to shreds. And I said, no, I'm not going to allow that to happen. And I just go into one of these places, and it pulls you in and is spinning around. It's like a screaming voices that are trying to rip you apart. It's like this whole time they're trying to tear my soul into millions of little pieces. The hands can't quite come close enough because I get brighter, and it's like I create a barrier, and these hands trying to reach me can't reach me. They're kind of staying out, but they're also saying there's also voice energy that is trying to break down this barrier. I land backwards, which is kind of strange, sliding backwards out of the portal when I wasn't, and so I'm sliding the opposite direction. And I slide on this surface. And it's not a slippery surface, it's just I was going so fast. And I'm in the area that I'm in, I kind of implanted into the ground. So as I slid, I actually created a indention into the ground. As I slid backwards, I got deeper and deeper and deeper, and I just wiping myself off. This is very unusual energy here. There's layers of energy. You can see the layers, but it's also upside down, but it's also upright. Because the perspective is all on how you look at it. And when you're walking, it's like there's all these weird, like everything's sticky. And as you walk, everything's sticky, so it tries to stick to your feet. So I just allow myself to rise above this. And even when I do that, there's a part of it, they're trying to tell me that no, you're stuck. You can't move. You're stuck in the sticky stuff. You can't go anywhere. So I said, no, I'm not stuck, and I'm floating through the air. But it's not easy to let go. Like the resistance here is quite strong, and because they use words that make you believe things that aren't real. And this is an important message because chaos uses words that aren't real to create chaos. But they make you believe that there's no other way, that you're stuck. You can't do anything except this one thing. But you might not even be aware that you're stuck in the first place. They show me all these. It's kind of like mirrors of people, and there's like starts to become a ridiculous amount of voices simultaneously speaking. So I say, what is it that you seek? What is it that you want? What is it that is going to make you happy? And all these voices turn and look at me and start screaming all at the same time, and all the mirrors shatter. And it leaves dark voids. And they're trying to pull me into a million pieces to get me to go into these individual mirrors, but I'm only going to go to one. And there's a specific one I need to go to. It's actually glowing, and it's one of those things that my soul knows where to go, so it highlights that spot, and that's where I go. And I go into that mirror, and it's a burnt city, a burnt out city. But it's also underlyingly alive. Like I see what it looks like now, but I also see like a mirror, not a mirrored, another, like everything's, all the buildings are intact and all the people are walking around, but it's not like that. But I also see that as the way it was originally. And then a war breaks out, and it's just like people are getting murdered in the streets. It's just a horrific scene. And it keeps playing out over and over again. And there's a black, it's like a huge black cloud with a ridiculous amount of tentacles that are coming down and touching all these scenes and screaming, like basically saying, they're saying why, actually. why, and they're pointing at all this stuff that's happening, and there's like a screaming why that's so friggin', it would blow your head in a million pieces if you're a human being. Your head would just explode. And I'm saying, I actually take my hands and I clap them really, really, really hard, and it sends out a pulse of energy that eliminates this whole scene. It doesn't eliminate it. What it does is break it, so it turns back into like air again. And I say, what is it that you want? And a person comes up and he screams, revenge. Revenge. And he screams revenge so loud that it cracks the ground in front of him, and all these spirits start coming out. I said, but this happened so long ago, most of these people are no longer here. And that reaction is like, but they are, he says. And I know them, and I know where they are, and this specific individual, and he starts pointing at all these places on the earth, and there's like all these dots start appearing all over the earth. And he's just going, they're there. I know they're there. I see them. But I said, they don't remember this. And his head starts spinning. And he starts screaming, and he fades away. It's kind of quiet now. Just for a second, there's something happening here. There's in front of me, there's a blob of black goo, and all this stuff is flowing into it. And it's like this big bloated thing that's bursting with disgusting stuff. Like it's like a pussy thing that goes, and it like literally puts splatter on the ground, and it's really disgusting. And it's like a bloated version of a human being, and it can't even move. It's just like it's like a Jabba the Hutt, but 1,000 times the size. But it looks like it actually has little arms, and it actually has feet. But there's so much fat that there's no, and it's just disgusting. And it's like it's screaming. It's always eating and trying to feed itself. And I said, what is it that you're starving for? It's just because it's trying, it never gets full. Like it's like chaos will eat the whole universe and destroy everything and still not have anything. You still feel like it's starving. And I show them this. I said, how are you ever going to not be starving? What is it that you really want? What is it that you need to quench your hunger, your thirst? And it's like destruction of everything. But then there would be nothing. And you'll still be starving. It actually creates, this being is actually, this whole head cracks and splits open, and this like creature comes out. It's like a really messed up looking worm type dragonfly larvae thing. It looks a lot like that. And it's flopping, it flops onto the ground, it cracks, and a bunch of little people walk out. And they kind of walk up, and they're building this skyscraper in front of me. It's kind of really strange. And one of them sits at the top and sits on a throne. And so I make myself small to make this make any sense. And this individual is getting weighted on hand and foot. Like there's people that are constantly waving, there's people that are giving him food, there's people that are actually doing things to his feet, his hands, his temples. Like it's insane. He's being weighted on hand and foot. But extreme. Like, and then it starts getting extreme. Like people they will literally do this until they die. And he will not allow them to leave until they die. So they got to actually massage his temples, his feet, until they literally die. They don't get any water, they don't get any food. They will do this until they die. And I asked the question again. Something tries to grab me by the throat, and I just kind of let it phase out, and it goes past me. And there's like a weird creature that comes out of it, and it goes, and it's like there's like a roof in this place. It goes and holds on to it, and it looks back at me, and his head's twisted all up, his body's all twisted, and it falls onto the ground. It turns into like a blob of slime, and it starts to kind of get closer to me. And I said, enough of this. And I slam my foot on the ground, and it cracks, and all this scene gets pulled into it, and I just close it shut. Enough games. There's like a tall pyramid structure with a lot of steps, and there's this girl coming down that has a long energy dress, but it's her hair, everything is like ridiculously long, and it's coming out of the throne on top of the pyramid, and it's still connected to it, and it just comes out, and well, it stops, and I ask who and what you are, what it like, because it's like, what is chaos? It's everything. We know what chaos is, and that's kind of what it, when they say that, that's kind of what it means. And I said, what is it that you want? How can we give you what you want in order for you to feel in balance, to let go of all this destruction? You can't destroy everything, because there'll be nothing, and you'd still be starving. You still won't solve the problem. Actually goes to lick my face with this really long, gross tongue. And it's a female. She looks female, but she's not, because when you look at her, there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of eyes and souls looking at me simultaneously. It's really messed up. And they're in a constant state of, like, I'm like a smirk, laughter, yelling, screaming, all these different things simultaneously, but it's very well contained into this. It's like this is about as put together as they could be, in a way. No, they said they could be exactly, and they turn into, they rip apart into a perfect male and a perfect female. And I said, but your eyes give you away. And they look at each other, and they look into each other's eyes, and they see there's something saying this. Actually, it has an effect. And they look back at me and they say, we cannot change that. How come you won't tell me what you want? Wow, this creates a really temper tantrum in a way. And I understand they don't know what they want. That's the problem. If chaos knew what it wanted, it would already have it. And they say that, and it's like they're freaking out, and they're just like, it's just like the energy is just nuts between them, and they just, it's kind of like chaos, so to speak, because it's just pure chaos. Everything's moving and growing and twisting and yelling and screaming, and then it stops. Standing in a white room. And all this energy comes together and stands up. And it's a man and a woman. And they're both sitting on a throne, and I'm standing in front of them. So allowing myself to experience this, because they're extremely bright. I went from a very dark place into a really light place. And they asked me why I went there. And so I tell them I'm trying to find out what chaos wants so we can move away from it, to grow, expand, rise above it. And it's a very simple explanation about chaos is everything that everybody wants, hates, doesn't have. It's like everything that is negative is chaos. But it's the hunger that I'm trying to feed. And it's like when you want something and don't know what you want, how is it that you're ever supposed to feed it? And that's the problem, because the universe is full of people that don't, or things that don't know what they want, but want something. It's not just like, you have the demonic being that wants, that it has a connection to something, and it gets corrupted, and then it wants that specific thing. So it could torture, maim, it could be like, I don't want to get into the gory details about it, but there's an intention that's connected to something. Chaos is connected to something it doesn't understand, because it doesn't know what it wants. But it's always starving for something it doesn't know what it wants. So, but that's the thing, even if it's so messed up, because they would destroy everything, but they would still be starving because they never figured out what they wanted, because there's no way of knowing what they want, because they never know what that is. So what are we supposed to do then as human beings? How, even in the universe, how can we stop chaos from existing? And they're talking about love, and about loving everything and everyone, but also loving yourself above all. And because when you love yourself above all, you love the parts of yourself that even you don't like. You can't put parts of yourself down. You have to bring it up. You have to love yourself, because that's the only way you can really truly start to understand what love is. You can have infatuation love or child love or things like that, but a love of food, a love of this, a love of that. But to truly understand love, you have to be able to look in the mirror and love yourself unconditionally. And we all struggle with that. But the more we accept ourselves for all the parts of ourselves, including the dark parts of our soul, like their defects, everything about ourselves, that's when we start to really let go of chaos. And chaos starts to learn and break apart. So chaos is all the longing of everything in the universe. So it doesn't, it's like taking a million things and merging them together and shaking them all up and tell somebody that, you know what, figure this out, and you throw it at them, and they're literally in a whole earth, for instance, full of a puzzle that there's no way of ever really knowing what the outcome of that puzzle is, or what the puzzle even is, or what the puzzle is supposed to be. And you throw a person on the earth and expect them to figure it out. It's never going to happen, because every single individual has to fix themselves, so to speak. And that allows chaos, that portion of chaos, to become sentient, to become balanced, to move away from the source. So the more we develop ourselves, the more chaos weakens. So if that explains it the best way I think I can explain it. I'm standing at a beach and I'm watching the sunset. There's a woman, like an old woman, that washes up on shore, and I help her up. And I walk her over to the bench and we talk. She tells me a story about her life. It's a sad story, but it's also a very difficult one. And she was not a nice person. And she did things that were horrific. And she says, "Will you forgive me?" This is a big one. When you find a part of a past life that did horrific things and comes to you and asks you for forgiveness, would you forgive them? I actually hug her and I try my best, I guess, to forgive her the best way I can. And I let my heart glow really, really, really bright. And she just turns to the air as I hold her. And I tell her I forgive her. Flowers, white and pink flowers, are actually in the air, and they go into the ocean and they wash up on shore. And they kind of wash up on shore in a specific pattern. Makes it really quite beautiful. And a thorn bush grows there, and it's really ugly at first with huge thorns. But then the most beautiful flowers appear and all the thorns fall off. and it becomes the most beautiful thing in the world. Beautiful flower you've ever seen. And they say that's how you defeat chaos. And that's the best way we can describe it to you at this time. So it is with love, but there's more to it than just sending love to it. It's kind of a combination of many things, and that's what we need to try to learn and understand. Because it's accepting of that part of yourself and the truly trying to forgive something and really meaning it, not just saying it, but believing in it. And not be afraid of it. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. And if you wish to do a session with me, you can visit my website at amonrosawakening.com, and I have a couple of other websites, and one's about Northern Lights. It's my Northern Lights page. It's josephbradley'sauroras.com. And I have another site that has beautiful images that are very healing at hiddenaurora spirits.com. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a wonderful day.